Okay, here's what I don't get about Hollow Knight Silksong. It's crushing expectations, but it's also crushing play. We're going to take a dive into this question. Hollow Knight Silksong, who is it really made for? Is it for those elite gamers who never flinch and rush ahead headstrong? Or was it intended for a group of gamers who play and enjoy such challenging and difficult games? If so, then how did the game start to appeal to all gamers? Was it an intended consequence or just the good old hype at work? Your favorite tubers and game review sites have already told you how great the game is, how everyone's hyped, how critics praised the polish. Speedrunners are breaking world records every day. And then, there are those stuck in Act 1's Last Judge, or wandering Act 2. Can you see the stark difference among player experiences?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
I really think the backward difficulty curve is its cause. Because when the hardest part of the game comes right at the start, are you gearing up for a climb? Or falling off a cliff before the journey even begins? Most casual games follow this graph. These games ease you in with fun first, then rising challenges, but they are easily forgettable. I mean, how many casual games can you name right away? Soul-like games use this graph. These games are all about having fun, overcoming challenges, and even hardships. The difficulty increases as gamers progress, so does the fun overcoming it. And then there are games like Sekiro and Silksong. Both of them share this backward difficulty curve graph. These games are hard right off the bat. They throw you into the world that just want to rid you off, right after the intro cutscene. That steep curve hits in the first few bosses, and that's why many players claim Act 1 is a wall. Cherry on top, the long, dreaded runbacks. Sekiro and Silksong want you to play as they are meant to play. And the memes like, press buttons not to die, or get good, are all saying suck it up and die, until you get strong enough to move ahead. Such games are so tough from the beginning, you just want to hit Alt F4 and Shift Delete. So how come some gamers, even Souls players, avoided Sekiro but got into Silksong? Everyone lost their bearings and went gaga when Hollow Knight Silksong was touted for release this year. And not to mention, it was the highest wished game in Steam history. Can you imagine in 2025 people were waiting for a 2D platformer game? On Steam, Silksong had over 5.2 million gamers waiting for it to come out. The numbers don't lie. So when everyone's hyped up for a game, it's hard not to catch the fever yourself. Despite the fact that you don't play and let alone enjoy challenging games, that means casual gamers drag themselves in with grand expectations. It'll be tough but fair, right? Underneath the hype, the fear of missing out worked overtime and spread like wildfire. Silksong dropped with massive expectations. Hollow Knight fans, metroidvania lovers, and casual gamers got roped in. And then, for many, the reality diverged sharply. Early 2 mask damage, bosses that feel overwhelming, enemies that are alive and target you, secrets hidden in tricky nooks. All that promise of deep but fair doesn't land the same if you haven't unlocked enough health or don't know the map yet. When you buy a game expecting joy, only to be punished, the disappointment cuts deeper than any boss attack. Which brings us to all the raging debates about how hard any game is stem for difficulty versus punishment ratio. Souls-like games are notorious for their difficulty, but it ain't like these games are after your throat from the start.
You sure about that?
Yes, there are early hard challenges, and there are ways to overcome them. Silksong is a different story. It's a successor to already a hard game. The core fans were expecting something more, something that'll test their skills from the very start. In any good sequels, you'll always see or experience higher stakes than before, or what else the sequel is for. This is where many players draw the line. It's one thing to be challenged. It's another to feel punished for every choice you make. Silksong doesn't take a back seat when it comes to punishment. You mess up, you get a heavy dose of damage. Many attacks, even early ones, deal double mask damage. When a basic hit takes off 2 health points, one misstep leads to immediate danger. There are also the Gauntlets, or smaller enemies spawning with bosses. Not just to make fights trickier, but to punish attempts at strategy. When you dodge poorly, then get surrounded by add-ons, your margin for error shrinks drastically. If getting hit once almost kills you, is the challenge earned, or is the game set up to be cruel? Team Cherry answered with the first patch, nerfing Morwing and Sister Splinter slightly. Also, hazards like sand carvers and blasted steps now deal 1 mask instead of 2. but the problems for many gamers persisted because of... One-way games ease difficulty is by giving you tools, and health and damage upgrades is sought to mitigate punishment. Silksong, however, is reluctant to hand over its secrets. Mask and spool fragments, craft material, useful quests offering unique tools, all of them are hidden in the world. And if you're not into jumping or bumping or hitting every wall you come across, you ain't gonna find them. Players who stick to what feels safe, those upgrades never arrive, and that makes everything tougher early on. And this significantly stacks the odds against you. In the last judge boss fight, you'll see most of the players are fighting the boss only on 5 masks. That boss is freaking hard, and with only 5 masks, you can pretty much guess how the battle is gonna go. I was one of them. It took 22 or maybe 25 tries to finally beat it. And don't get me started on how the devs trolled by making the boss explode. Sheesh, man, who does that? So gamers are struggling at certain boss fights or gauntlets, and they get suggestions like get good or explore somewhere. Getting good at the game is obviously the best thing you can do, though it'll take some time and patience. Explore somewhere, however, just doesn't make any sense. Silksong won't let anyone go to the next area without a fight. It's like choosing between one tough wall or another tough wall. Not much of a choice, is it? If half your survival chances are locked away where you weren't likely to look, is that testing or expecting perfection from the start? Smaller enemies spawning during boss fights or mixed into gauntlets. This shifts the challenge from learn the boss pattern to juggling too much at once. A good boss fight that raises your death count is still much better than gauntlets. Because in gauntlets, it's not just meager skill test. It feels like managing too many unforgiving systems at once. The damage model doesn't help. The 2 mask damage from some attacks means one mistake has big consequences. When these overlaps happen, the margin of safety is thin. And the worst is the contact damage. People are calling it unfair. Just brushing an enemy or stunned boss often chips off 2 masks. If a fight becomes less about learning and more about surviving chaos, are we still playing the same kind of game we thought we bought? So is Hollow Knight Silksong for every gamer or for elites only? There's a lot to admire. The polish, the artistry, the moments of flow when you finally get something. If you came in because of hype, wanting something deep and fair, there's a good chance you'll hit walls early and feel left behind. Staying stuck isn't fun. I've been there. Devs are trying. This patch shows they hear the complaints. But if they nerf everything, Silksong will lose its identity. In a sense, it won't be true successor to Hollow Knight. If you don't want to miss out then, mods are your best friends.
Nice.
If you love detailed, punishing combat, exploring every nook, mastering every fight, even at the cost of frustration, this game absolutely delivers. It's hard not to admire the craftsmanship of Silksong, but admiration alone won't fix frustration. When good design becomes inaccessible design, when praise from your favorite tubers and reviewers don't match with what you feel, we must ask, is Silksong a masterpiece built for everyone, or a version of greatness that only some can touch? Still, maybe there's space between nobody struggles and only the elite succeed. Because I want a game I love that I can also share with friends who aren't elites, speedrunners, or masochists. And maybe you do too.